Hello, my name is Brendan McBreen. What is a PPA? At the end of this module, you will understand the basic concept of the Solar Power Purchase Agreement. PPA is a power purchase agreement, where one entity agrees to buy electricity from another. PPAs between utilities have existed for decades. In this module, however, we will discuss the more recent application of PPAs for individual homes and businesses. PPAs are an important catalyst for the enormous growth in residential solar installations. A solar PPA is a financial agreement between a solar services provider, who retains ownership of a solar system, and a host customer. Like the young woman in the Brothers Grimm children's story Rumpelstiltskin, PPAs can only be understood by knowing the names and roles and responsibilities of each of the participants. A PPA is the financing technique at the heart of the solar services business model. The innovation that made residential solar widespread was selling solar services, not solar panels. Jigar Shah at SunEdison first offered PPAs to commercial customers. Instead of having to pay all of the money up front for solar installation, a PPA allowed the solar services provider to install solar panels at no cost to the customer. The customer then paid for the amount of electricity the panels produced at a fixed rate for 20 years. This ultimately saved the customer money compared to what they were already paying their utility for electricity. The customer, whether commercial or residential, benefits from buying only the electricity, not the hardware. The customer has no upfront costs, no maintenance costs, and a lower electricity bill. Note that a PPA is similar, but not the same, as a solar lease, another business model. The ownership model is so popular and profitable that companies that offer PPAs or solar leases, SolarCity, Sunrun, Sungevity, and SunPower, often will not sell a solar installation even if the customer wants to buy. This graphic from the Rahaus Institute Customer's Guide to Solar Power Purchase Agreements shows the names, roles, and relationships of the possible participants of a PPA. At the very center is the solar services provider who coordinates the execution of the PPA. The host customer agrees to host a solar installation. In return, the customer signs a PPA to pay a monthly fee for the electricity produced by the solar installation. The solar services provider executes the installation, the financing, and the permitting, and coordinates with any and all external entities. Solar equipment manufacturers provide the panels, inverters, and balance of system equipment to the solar services provider, the owner of the system. An installer team, either an in-house team of the solar services provider or an external independent installer, designs and builds the system. Because the income from PPAs is guaranteed for decades, solar services providers are able to attract capital investment. Banks and other investors receive low-risk return on investment and, sometimes more importantly, the tax benefits granted to solar projects by the state and federal government. Finance and tax issues are so critical to this business model that sometimes the solar services provider creates a separate entity, known as a special purpose entity, to execute PPAs. The electric utility provides an interconnection to the electric grid and still provides electricity to the customer. The benefit of a PPA is that the new, lower utility bill, plus the PPA bill, is still less than the previous higher electricity bill. A PPA is a complex, multi-year contract that defines all aspects of electricity delivery: rates, increases, performance guarantees, insurance, and especially end-of-term options. The customer usually has the end-of-term options of buying the system outright, renegotiating another PPA, or having the solar services provider remove the system. Power purchase agreements have been instrumental in expanding solar installations in the residential sector. In 2012, 63% of California residential solar installations and 80% of Colorado solar installations were third-party owned. The history, the legislation, the companies and the finance roles of PPAs are evolving every month, along with the rest of the solar industry. When we are done with this module, please read this article on Bank of America's investment in 24 PPAs in California and answer the questions listed. This article is unusually detailed, covering the financing, the legislation, and particularly the establishment of 4 special purpose entities to manage the solar projects. Like the woman who successfully figured out the name of Rumpelstiltskin, the key to understanding PPAs is to know the names and the roles and responsibilities of each of the participants in the agreement. Additional readings on power purchase agreements are available at the following links. What is a PPA? My name is Brendan McBreen, and the goal of this module was to help you understand the basic concepts behind power purchase agreements. Thank you.